Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your host, Coach B. Today's show is about football. Football? Oh yeah, and football. Sit back, hold tight, and open your ears. First Team All podcast starts right now. Hello and welcome to episode number 1 of First Team All podcast. In this segment, we're going to tackle junior high football with my guest, Coach Steve Cooley, 8th grade head coach at Milford Junior High here in Ohio. I also want to thank and give a shout out to our sponsor, www.fuelthejourney.org. Head on over and see what it's all about. Send emails to coachb.firstteamallpodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions or an opinion, or if you want to hear something on our show. So let's get it on.
Yeah, welcome to First Team All podcast, and going to be talking to Steve Cooley today. He's a junior high coach at Milford High School here in Milford, Ohio. Anyway, this is Steve. How you doing, Steve?
Pretty good. How you doing today?
Man, to be honest, pipes broke. I'm flooding. Other than that, I'm good.
Going down fast. That's not good.
So yeah, are you 8th grade coach this year, or how does that work?
Well, at Milford, what we do is we stay with the kids. So we'll have them for 7th grade, then we'll move up with them for 8th, and then we go back and start over fresh with 7th again. So I just finished up a 7th grade class, and I'll be moving up with them into an 8th grade for next year.
Oh, okay. I was thinking you were doing 8th grade this year, but so you did 8th grade when I was there with y'all last year. So okay,
correct. Yeah, the guys I had for the new freshman class this year.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, exactly. I had the freshmen the year before that. So, good group of kids. We, just had a quarterback that didn't want to play quarterback, and the one that did was a head case, so.
The fun of junior high and young high school kids, man. Some of them have all the talent in the world and don't have the head yet, and some of them have the head and none of the talent physically. So it's always a match game to try to make something happen.
Oh, yeah. Well, the team I got last year, freshman team, I think they had only lost 2 games in 2 years. So one game in 7th grade, one game in 8th grade. And, that's awesome. They get to me, and we go 4-5-1.
Yeah.
I guess it happens, though. We lost 3 games. Do what now?
At this age, you got kids who develop so much. Year to year, you can have a stud just become an average player, and an average player become a stud, and it changes up everything. And the other teams are growing and changing that you're playing against. So just because you beat them this year doesn't mean you're going to beat them next year.
Yeah, I know. Well, we lost 3 games by not being able to kick extra points, which was very, very, very frustrating. And even the game we tied was because we were in the middle of a mud pit in Dunbar up in Dayton, playing Dayton Dunbar, freshman team, and we scored first. I elected to not go for the field goal, and only told the quarterback, and he was the holder. And I told him, I said, yeah, we're going fire. I'm not letting him kick that because it was nothing but mud and water 4 inches thick in the middle of the field, And we got sacked. didn't get the ball off, and next thing I know, we kept them on their side of the 50 the whole game. Very last play of the game, they threw a bomb that connected and scored. And luckily, they didn't have a field goal kicker, so they had to go for two and didn't make it, and we tied.
And honestly, that's something that bothers me about Ohio high school junior high rules. We don't kick off. So since we don't kick off, we don't spend the time helping a kicker. So I mean, we'll develop a punter because we got to have a punter, but more often than not, we're going for two because that's whatever no one has the time frame to train up an actual kicker to be able to go for field goals and points after. So I've always thought that they were actually at least down at 8th grade start actually putting in the kicking game. I mean, for me, it's the other side of it is it gives me a true special teams area where I can get more kids on the field that might not be seeing time otherwise.
Well, yeah, that's very true. I mean, because the guy we had could kick, but I mean, and he could hit from 25, 30 yards, but something always happened, either the snap or the hold or the kick. It was something always. I don't think we ever hit an extra point the whole year. But yeah, going back to what you said, especially on, in junior high, they don't kick off. I don't see why they don't allow you to have special teams. I know they don't want kids to get hurt on kickoff return. Get the team out there, kick the ball off, and pretty much, run your lanes, go where you're supposed to go, but no actual, it's just a thud up, and where the ball is caught is where it's down.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's ways that they could.
I don't see why they can't do that.
We could actually use it, but back at when I used to coach at the youth level, one of the things they did there to try to encourage kicking was they, in the league we were in here in Milford, they actually flipped it so that if you kicked the extra point, you got 2 points, and if you ran it in, you only got 1 point, to try to encourage people to train kickers.
Wow.
And then they had some rules at different levels as far as who could blitz from the outside, how many guys could blitz, that kind of stuff, so you were protecting the holder and then the kicker so that they had time to learn the skill, and each age group as it went up, more guys could run, could blitz, and it became more like a true live play. But we actually had a phenomenal kid who kicked for us back then, and we won a lot of games because we were going for two on everything, and everybody else was going for one, simply because we had a kid who could kick.
Yeah,
I wish that translated over into junior high, but you get to junior high in the state of Ohio at least, and it all goes away. Then you come back to freshmen, and you got kids who would be playing football just to kick. If you some soccer kids who you could train up who would be playing, but they don't come out in junior high because they know there's no opportunities for them.
Yeah, I know, and that's something we need to address with OSHA, or I guess that's how you pronounce it, OHSAA, and talk to the members at SWAFCA. Even if it's just allowed here in the Southwest, I mean, there's got to be something you can do.
Well, we even at the youth club, we played down at a tournament down in Knoxville. It was called the Battle of the Rocky Top. As our sixth graders, as they were the very last thing we did with the sixth graders before we turned them over to the junior high back then, we took them down to this tournament, and down there they had kickoffs, and they had rules about kickoffs as far as they're depending on the weight limits of the guys and certain things. A big guy essentially couldn't advance it, so if a big guy caught it, it was dead there. But we had a good time, spending 2 weeks prior teaching a kickoff and a kickoff return game, and the kids had a blast. It was something new at the end of the season. They were learning, and they loved it down there. And then they got to junior high, and they're like, "What do you mean we don't kick off?" No. Not in Ohio. They do in Tennessee, but not in Ohio.
Well, I can't remember. I'm 47, so I can't remember junior high football for anything. But and I'm from Mississippi, and I don't think we had kickoff back then either. And that was junior high. I was playing 82, 83, somewhere around there probably. And to be honest with you, I don't know if we had punt. Do y'all punt in junior high?
We do, for the most part. We actually, we're in a special situation at Milford because we actually play in two separate leagues. So we treat it like a true varsity JV scenario, where we have a varsity 7th grade team, a varsity 8th grade team, and then we have a combined 7th, 8th grade team that plays in a separate league. And we treat it like a JV varsity scenario at the high school level, whereas if you don't get into the varsity game, you're going to get into the JV game. In that JV league that we play, they have the choice, the home team has the choice to walk off the punt, a gentleman's punt, or to go for a live punt. So in that scenario, you have case, and they got some rules in place as well as far as you can't put someone inside the 20. So no matter where, if you're punting from the 50 in, it's always going to put it right at the 20. So you can't back somebody up all the way to their end zone with the gentleman's punt. But as far as our Ohio High School Association games, those are all, live punts.
Okay. Yeah, I know they don't want kids to get hurt and stuff, but I mean, you can do certain rules to keep that from happening, I mean, I know everybody everybody talks about the kickoff being bad, but God, man, you watch college and pro, the punt is by far worse to me, because you can snap somebody right when they catch the ball,
Oh, yeah.
And you can't do that in kickoff unless you're just, ungodly. You'd have to run a 3.9 to make that happen, and that's not going to happen. So, oh man.
That's funny.
Okay.
We had a player this year, and I always joke about every few years there's something that comes up that just amazes me that kids have made it this far and didn't learn. We've got kids who have played football since they were in kindergarten, and they make it to the junior high level, and you tell them something, and they look at you like you got two heads. And it turns out we started taking steps back because try to teach a kid like they don't know anything about football because there was so much that kids had no clue. But as far as a punt, we had a kid who was a returner just this year, and we had worked punt team. I mean, at least once or twice a week. He had recovered quite a few, returned some, but we had the plays set up. And I mean, it was 3/4 way through the season when he said, "Hey, if I'm about to catch it and they're about to hit me, do I just let it hit the ground or do I catch it?" And we're like, "You call a fair catch." And he goes, "Well, how do you do that? What's that?" He had no clue about it. And it was just one of those things that was like, you got to be kidding me. Okay, I guess let's take a step back and keep you, because he was like, well, if I'm about to get hit, do you want me to go ahead and catch it, or do you want me to just let it hit the ground? And it reminded me, because a couple of years back, we had a player who showed up, and at the time, I think he was playing corner, and my DB coach is yelling at him, hey, I want you 7 yards off, and this kid would move up. And he'd be like, no, 7 yards. Then the kid would move back, and he'd be like, no, a little bit further up. Trying to get the kid where he's at. So I asked the kid after he comes off the field, I said, hey, man, coach was telling me 7 yards. What was the confusion? He's like, well, I don't know how big a yard is. And I'm like, well, you see the hash marks that are out there? He's like, yeah. I'm like, each one of those is a yard, and each solid white line is 5 yards. And he goes, oh, really? I was like, yeah. They had no clue. And it was, okay, so, sometimes the youth teams
why they paint those?
Yeah, he had no, sometimes youth teams don't play on, fields that are completely marked or completely lined, but he played since first grade and had no clue that each one of those ticks was a yard. He was like, oh, well, that'll make it a whole lot easier. Yeah, that's kind of for everybody. That's going to make it easier. But, made it, like 6, 7 years of football, never knew what 5 yards, what 10 yards, would do what people told him to do, and never had the knowledge of how to figure it out for himself. And that's the stuff that we run into
Yeah.
day after day at junior high.
Well, I ran into some things at freshman level last year at Milford with, they didn't know what a slant was. They didn't know what a hitch was. They didn't know what a fade was. And I'm going, oh my God. But then you tell them and they go, oh, that's what that is. So they just didn't know the lingo. You know what I'm saying? And that bothered me. I was like, but I mean, you have so little time. Mm-hmm. And these kids they don't go home and they don't study this stuff and they don't, you know what I'm saying? It's not that big to them right now. So the learning curve is really harder, the more you go up because you don't have time to teach them what they need to be taught. So it's very frustrating.
We used to try, back in the day when I did, 10 years at the youth level before I'm 7 or 8 years now at the junior high level. But back at the youth level, we used to talk to the high school coach, whoever it was at the time, and we would ask them, hey, we want to use your same terminology. We want to use, we got, at that time there was their chance of running the same plays, but you know what? We want to teach the same terms so that these kids know what they're talking about when they get to the next level. And the problem we ran into was we were shifting through so many, not necessarily head coaches, but coordinators.
Play calling coaches, offensive, I know.
Yeah, it changed every year.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, we try to do it with my junior high staff tries to do it with the varsity staff, and we do a better job of it now, but varsity will change in what they're calling something or how they're doing something, and that doesn't trickle down to us. So halfway through the season, our kids will be calling it one thing and they'll be calling it something else because, someone made a change along the way. Just the way it is. But we try to get as much of our terminology to match varsity so that at least at the junior high to freshman level, when they go up there, they're better off and they know what's going on.
Oh yeah, you can't teach them everything about what the varsity's doing. I mean, my offense when I was at Milford, offensive coordinator, of course, was very dumbed down by of what Bart was doing. I did way less, but I added my own twist to it too, because I love to run motion. Just anything to make the, what's the word I'm looking for? The, illusion of misdirection, even if I don't do misdirection, that's just the way I like to, that's my offense, but I can put that into any offense and it's very simple, but if the kids don't know terminology, I mean, I don't care if you call it a dive. I don't care if you call it inside zone. It's the same damn thing, You're going up the middle. I mean, you got inside zone, outside zone, You can call it sweep, pitch, toss. I don't give a crap. It's the same thing. The difference is you may have, if it's going to be pin and pull, different stuff like that, compared to zone blocking, But it's still, the running back, I don't see how it's so difficult. And it is.
Yeah. We always ask the high school offensive coordinators, hey, give me what's your top 6 plays? What are your bread and butter? And I'll try to use those. We'll make sure we've got those in our playbook so that we can, so that the kids are seeing some resemblance between what they're doing and what varsity's doing. And then from there out, we start making tweaks. This year we were lucky enough, we did this, first time I've got a quarterback at the junior high level who can actually, complete some long passes. He's very accurate. So, I mean, this is the first time that we could actually put in, more of the passing game that the varsity has. But in years past, I mean, that wasn't an option. I mean, more often than not, we were going to run 9 times out of 10, and the teams we were facing were going to run 9 times out of 10. But this past year, we were actually able to throw the ball about 65 to 68% of the time as the season went on, and it made for a more exciting offense, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely more exciting. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a run guy, but you've got to have some downfield passes in there, but also, you know, so many guys get away from the run game and use that, but don't go back to their hitches and slants and mesh and outs, 5-yard outs and this and that. Because, I'll take that all day long. I don't have to run the ball. But when you can't run the ball, yes. When you can't run the ball, though, so many think, oh, God, I got to go deep. No, you don't. That's a whole other subject. You know, that's the crap I went through this past season. Anyway, so won't get into that one. But yeah, you know, and let me ask you a question. On a corner route, me personally, 10 to 12 yards at the deepest on a corner route, you know, before they make their cut. And then on a comeback, 12 to 10 is what I'm looking at.
Sure.
But it was put in for our, and I don't know why I said corner. That's ridiculous. Corner was right. No, we did about 10 or 12. But the comeback was 17 to 15. And I don't care if you've got Nebraska's offensive line, you know, big hog mollies. To run that route, you're going to really have to have a good quarterback, a fast receiver, and a good line. So when you don't have but one of those,
so
13 to 15 is not what you.
Yep. For us, one of the first things we do is we take the pass routes and you know, they all get shorter. And in general, they all get shorter from, you know, from what a varsity's going to run. You know, our stems by far are shorter. But we get into that where we might have certain personnel. This year was a little bit better with the line that we had. We were more consistent. But there's been years past where we only had personnel to control one side of the line. So you had to pick if you were going to. You were calling we almost had a whole personnel package to be able to throw the ball because we had to get everybody on one side and let the quarterback roll behind them to even get it off, to have the time to get it off. Like I said, this year was a little easier having a kid who can throw, but man, we get kids size-wise that come out. I had kids that were 75 pounds that came out that were, you know, great athletes, but small kids. And then at the same time, I've got a couple linemen who are the same age who are 200 pounds. I mean, that's the wage, you know, what we've got between the smallest to the biggest, and, you know.
You couldn't block a wet sack.
Yeah. I mean, I've got.
No, it was like blocking a wet sack. They just went right through it. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Then I'll get huge kids that'll show up who's never played before, and I'm like, man, he's got great size, and he's the nicest football player you'd ever have, but he doesn't have a mean streak in his body to actually make a block and drive somebody, you know. It's amazing. We're always looking at kids going, if I could take his ability and put it in his body, man, we would be good.
I'm sure that happens everywhere. You know, because here, you've got everybody plays everybody, and your what's it called? Even in the playoffs and the championship games it's everybody against everybody, private against public. Where I'm from Mississippi, is totally different. We have two separate divisions, or not two. I think there's 6 divisions, but there's 2 separate lines. One is private and one is public. And you do play each other now. They used to wouldn't let them play each other. Now I guess probably the last 15 years they've been playing each other. But, you know, 1 or 2 games a year, private and public will play. Then you turn around, but you have your own playoff system and you have your own championship.
Gotcha.
But down there, private, I went to a private school 2 years, and my graduating class both years was 30 people. Yeah, and then private, and then public was, 400, graduated, which is small compared to here. Because I went to a pretty good sized school after that, Pearl Public School, which is my alma mater, and they actually won the state championship this year. Went last year and got beat, but they won this year. First time ever in the school history. So that's awesome. But, I'm proud of that. Wished I could have been there and done it, but it didn't happen. And we're the big school. We're 6A, which is totally different from here. Here, 1 is big and, 6 and 7 are small, the smallest. But, in Mississippi, it's, 1's the smallest and 6 is the biggest. So, they do things weird down in the South. So, I guess.
Yeah.
But, but, I coached 4 years of youth football down there. I coached 3 years of junior high, 1 year of freshman football, and 2 years college, and I was D3 college. And, I enjoyed it, but I got up here, and I love it. But the only thing is, I only had 1 winning season here. I never had a losing season in Mississippi, knock on wood. But I get up here, and I've had 1 winning season at Mount St. Joe. And then the next 3 years have been losing seasons. And dude, that's leaving a bad taste in my mouth. It doesn't make me want to not coach, but it sure makes me want to change all the time. And I don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's tough not to get in that rut and try to figure out what to change. And, both of us had the same situation where we only got athletes for a short amount of time before they move up to the next level, and then they're not ours anymore. And we see these kids, and they might do great for us, and we turn them over to the next one, and again, their bodies are changing. Some of them are hitting the weight room and doing what they need to be doing, and some of them aren't, and some kids are getting better, and some are getting worse. But it's tough to come out through the season, and it was nice this year at Milford for them to be able to, at our varsity level, be able to turn around and make it to the playoffs for the first time in so many years. But leading up to that, all players who I've known, including my own, sons who went through the program, seeing them being, that we had so many years of kids that were just winning at the youth level, winning at the junior high level, winning at the freshman and JV level, and getting to varsity, and we would lose. We couldn't make that transition. At the varsity level, we couldn't compete. And there was various reasons along the way. We've had various head coaches and various OCs and DCs along the way as well. But it's been just year after year of people trying to find that right mix to make something happen. But I'll tell you, as much as I respect, coaches and what they're doing, the one thing I can see is over the years, sometimes you have the athletes and sometimes you don't. And if you don't have the key athletes, you're struggling to not lose every game. And there's been years where you just didn't have the guys, or you had 5 guys, and 5 guys isn't enough to win every game with. You got 5 guys going both ways who are killing themselves, and then you got your next tier of guys just aren't on that same level, and you can't play against the other powerhouses in our league. It just doesn't work that way.
Oh, I know it. Well, but not to say that that's wrong because it's right, but it's also wrong in the fact that I felt that same way, But then I watched, was it Winton Woods and Hobart, whatever, however you pronounce it, the state championship this year, which is awesome that you can watch it on TV. I got Spectrum, so I was watching Spectrum Sports all the time, and I got all the high school games. But that game, I don't know how big their school is. I don't know much about them because they're up in Akron. But, man, they had 3 or 4 guys playing both ways, and they were it was awesome, you know. And I look at last year, and I love Bryce. Bryce is the dude.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm even helping him trying to get in college somewhere because he's just phenomenal. But they tried to use him last year, offensive line and defense, and they almost killed him. There was one game he fell out in the end zone because he was so
I
just
remember that. Yeah.
wore out. And Bryce is a freaking stud, you know, and which of course he was doing offensive line, defensive line. I mean, that's totally different as a wide receiver playing quarterback. But still, you know what I mean? You got guys you got teams that can make it happen with it, and you got teams that can't make it happen. Is it the coaching? Is it the play calling? If you don't have what you had the year before, do you change what you do? I mean, I know not a lot, but you got to change a little because your offensive line is not always as good as it was the year before, or it may be better than the year before. I don't know. Those are my questions.
Well, my oldest son went through the program. My oldest son went through the program that the guys that were in his class, which were, you know, the first guys that I coached at the youth level, when they went through from their freshman to their senior year, they had 3 different head coaches and 4 different offensive coordinators with 4 different offenses, you know, in their time frame. They didn't have a shot.
Well,
I mean, we went running.
That's hard to win no matter what.
And then, when you can't build on what you did last year, you're starting over. And even though you might have some athletes, that football IQ is going down because they're learning something completely different. And, you know, I mean, we went through that, you know, this year with you know, changing up the head coach at Milford. We went through that. We had kids who were relearning stuff that they've known for the last couple of years, but now they had to learn it in a different way, deal with somebody else's system. And it's tough on the kids. You know, even the smartest football player still has issues when you think about how much he's got to learn top to bottom and what he's got to do. I mean, I've said it for a long time, you know, that the linemen on our team, you know, offensive and defensive linemen are the smartest guys on the team because they got to know how to do, you know, their job under 10 different plays, you know, every scenario, right and left. They got to know what they got to do. They got to know when to change. You know, there's a lot that they got to go on, and if they don't know what they're doing, it shows. And if those guys are, you know, you see them stand straight up and be watching the play. I mean, they're just out there standing and watching. And unfortunately, at the high school level, at least at Milford, it's been a few years since we've had a strong enough O-line where we had everybody up there on the same page knowing what they're doing. You know, because of injuries and because of, you know, stuff like that, we've always been, you know, pulling one guy, having somebody go both ways. Well, if the kid's going both ways and he's got to know everything he's doing on offense and defense, he's giving up something, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still just kids. They're not that intelligent when it comes to it. They're learning every day. They're learning more. Heck, I've been coaching all these years, and every time I go to a clinic, there's something new that I hadn't thought about before that I learned from. I think there's so many aspects of this game that it's amazing.
You know, there are, but on top of that, I think, and it's like, I'll use a reference here from music, but the Bare Naked Ladies, it's all been done, you know?
Yeah.
It's all been done in music because there's only, you know, so many major minor chords and that's it. You know, there's only so many ways you can play it. It's just, you know, it's how you play it. The football's the same way. I don't know that you can come up with a totally new style of offense anymore or defense. Yeah. You just have to add on to what and a mixture of stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous, but you know, I hope one day I find the answers to all, but I doubt it. You know, and one of the biggest things is parents are the biggest coaches in the world.
Absolutely. Well, you look at our level, you know, at the 7th grade level, the team that I get at a 7th grade level was at least 2 teams at the youth level, sometimes 3. So 2 teams came together to be, from the youth to be the 7th grade junior high team. In that scenario, I've got 8 to 10 guys who are now parents who were coaches the year before. And every one of them has an opinion on how they did it and how they like it and what they want. And every one of them thinks that they know better than the next guy. And I was the same way when I was at that level. I remember turning my kids over to 7th grade and going, why do they have, so-and-so playing safety, He's been a linebacker his whole life. He knows what he's doing at linebacker. Why is he in safety? And I've got 10 guys standing on the sidelines, questioning everything that we do. And like I said, no different than I did when I was in their shoes. And it doesn't change until they get to about the JV level before they at least sit in the stands and listen, as opposed to being down there yelling about what's going on. But parents,
well, they don't actually listen.
Worst out there.
It's really not that different. You just don't have as many, My thing is, I got a little girl, so I never had a boy playing football. So I didn't watch, I had friends I take that back. I had friends with kids that played football, youth football all the way up, and I watched them. But, and I have my own opinions, but true parents that don't know shit about football think, and it's the whole way up, from youth all the way to professional. You go to a Bengals game and every damn body there is a coach and knows what's best for the team. I think that is so hilarious,
It is.
It's that way in high school, but you have some that just, I'll give you, for instance, I was coaching youth football. I'm not going to use the exact word this woman, and a woman now, said, she's hollering at our guys. She said to tell, do something to the other team. She said, break his effing neck. And when I'm on the field, I tune everything out. I hear nothing from the stands. I hear nothing anywhere. My mind is on the game and what's at hand.
Yeah.
But I heard that. I heard that.
I try to stay focused. A lot of times what happens to me is I'll have a trainer or somebody will come over and go, hey, did you hear such and such? And I'll be like, no, what did they say?
Yeah,
I'll tell you for sure.
exactly.
The cheerleaders are standing 5 yards behind us, cheering up and down on that track, and I got to tell you, I don't know that I've ever heard them during a game in my life. I mean, I
didn't know we had cheerleaders. I didn't know we had cheerleaders for freshmen this year, because I was a freshman head coach or offensive, what you want to call it, at not freshman, JV, at Turpin this year. And I didn't even know we had them until they rode the bus with us to one game. I was like, we got cheerleaders?
It amazes me. I mean, they're right there and they're doing their thing, but I got no clue. From when I'm on the field, I'm trying to figure out what the next play is, what the subs are, what are we doing. I'm talking to my offensive coordinator, I'm talking to my defensive coordinator. I'm trying to run everything at once, and it's like I got no clue what else is going on. I don't hear what unless it's something obvious. I don't hear a parent yelling. I don't hear a player saying something on the sidelines. It's all about what we need to do, managing the clock. And I've been lucky enough that I've got, my staff, there's guys that I've been working with, right now my defensive coordinator, Mike Robinson, and my O-line coach, Joe Herbst, we actually started together back coaching our sons back at the youth level. We've been together for 12 years or something like that we've been coaching together. So we pretty much know what each other's going to do before they're going to do it. And I've been lucky enough to coach a couple other guys over the years. And I've got a staff that's phenomenal right now, and everybody, works well together, and everybody knows what's going on. And that hasn't always been the case in the past. It's taken a long time to hone in on getting where I need to be. And actually this year, I need to find a new, wide receivers coach, and I'm hesitant to bring someone else into the mix. The last few guys we brought into the mix weren't good match and cause more issues than good. So, I mean, it's always a coaching side of things. It's always, hard to get that right mix to people who can be productive with each other. I mean, and don't get me wrong, we don't agree about everything. There's many a time where, I want to run the ball, and the offensive coordinator wants to throw the ball, and I'm going, no, we're running the ball. I'm the head coach. But we can have those conversations and not have an issue on the field. We've had coaches in the past, that wasn't the case. That you had coaches screaming at each other, and it wasn't productive. And at the end of the day,
it's not.
I enjoy the game. I enjoy giving that knowledge to kids, and I'm going to be there to enjoy myself. I'm not going to be there to be in an argument and fight every day. That's not what it's for.
Yeah. I totally understand. Now, you said you coached youth 10 years and, junior high 7 years, something like that. So do you, I know you love what you do. Do you ever want to move up?
I've been
or do you really like what you're doing that much?
I like the junior high level. The kids are a treat, and we get the kids at all different levels. I mean, you got kids who have been, who are everyone has a different home situation. Everybody's got, are coming to the mix bringing something different. But I like this 12, 13-year-old age group. I can joke with the kids, and at the same time I can get on the kids, and we're on the same page. The funny part is that they grow as they go up. Now, everyone in the high school program has had me as a coach along the way. For the last couple of years, that's how it's been. But I like the younger kids. There's a lot that they need, and there's not a lot of coaches that can coach the junior high level. I've had coaches before that X's and O's are the smartest coaches I've ever met. Football knowledge-wise, they know more than anybody out there, but they can't get that information out and get it to a 7th or 8th grader. And it frustrates them because they're trying to get the information out and the kids aren't grasping it and they don't understand why this isn't happening, but they just can't even communicate with it. When we've done, Jack Street has held a camp here for the last 11, 12 years at Milford, and when we hold that camp day, we have the varsity coaches help out with stuff. So we'll have everybody from the freshmen through, seniors out there helping the camp, and then we'll have the junior high and high school staffs out there. And the high school, coaches who are out there are they dread it every year because they're like, I can't deal with these little kids. You tell them this and they do that, and, and I'm like, well, it honestly is a whole different way to coach when you're dealing with these guys versus the older guys. You can get into an older guy and turn around, pat him on the back, and walk away, and everybody's good. These younger guys, I mean, you might have just destroyed the kid for the rest of the game. You begin to get into him, and he thinks, oh, well, this coach hates me, I'm done, and he never recovers. They're fragile in their own ways, but you start learning what you can and can't do with the different kids. But there's coaches out there that just cannot relate to them, and for whatever reason, I can relate to that teenage mentality, so I can get on them and I can keep them going without having too many issues.
Yeah, well, I do a lot of pro camps. I work for NFL pro camps, and gosh, I've had them from 5 years old all the way up to 14, and and I can do them all. Even in college, I'm just one of those that I'm a player's coach. People love me. They get along with me, and they do. If I ask them to run through the wall, they're going to do it. Now, not every one of them, but you know what I mean. There's a lot of them out there that will. And even, I got kids that I coached in youth that I still talk to their, dads and stuff or moms, and they're like, Coach, you're my kid than any win or anything. I love it. And I got high school kids that I've coached that still feel the same way, and that's what coaching football is all about. Not all about, but you know what I mean. That's the ultimate I get out of it, Don't get me wrong. I love to win, and I hate to lose, but it's not the most important
Right.
Until you
I've
get
always said that I'm trying to, at the end of the day, I'm trying to make better men out of these kids. Well, the older they get, I want them to come out of this with some life experiences and the love of a game. That I'm trying to teach what I love to these kids, this game. I know there's coaches out there that all they worry about is they want to be the smarter coach on the field. They want to prove that they're smarter than the coach on the other side. I'm not about that. I'm going to get my knowledge out to these kids and get the most out of these kids. That I could care less about the guy on the other side, what he knows, what he doesn't know. I don't care. I'm not about outsmarting him. I'm trying to get the best out of my to do. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't do scout film and we do all that kind of stuff to know what the other team's doing, but I've had coaches on the sidelines in the past that was their only goal, was to prove that they knew more than that coach up was over there, and they were trying to do stuff with the players that they couldn't do. And I had a guy, once who flat out said we had just lost the game, and he was the OC at the time. The comment was you guys just can't run my offense. We lost this game because you guys can't run my offense. And I was just an assistant coach at the time, and I'm thinking, well, if they can't run your offense, then why are we putting it in?
Run something they can run.
We have to tweak stuff to something that they can do and be productive with. If we're going to run something and it's going to be, counterproductive for us the whole time, there's no reason to teach it. Why spend so many hours of practice teaching something if it doesn't relate to what we can do on the field? You find the few things that you can do and you do them good, You focus on that. And there's a for every kid. I mean, I know that, like I said, there's kids at different levels, and at Milford we don't have tryouts, so if they sign up, they're going to come out with us. There's a place for every kid, and you got to find what that kid can do. That's one of my reasons. Like I said, I would love to have a true special teams area, because then there's kids who I know I could get, playing on special teams who, aren't getting as much playing time on offense or defense. But
well, team coaches think they're Bill Belichick. And I'm just throwing that out there, but I'm just saying, at all levels, all the way up to high school, I'm sorry, this is not college football. If you're at Navy, do you want a Dan Marino or a Tom Brady playing as your quarterback? Heck no. If you're Nebraska, do you want smaller, undersized, faster linemen? Heck no. Because you run a certain offense, so you're not going to get those type of guys. At youth, all the way up to high school, you can't help what you get. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You don't pick the player for the game. You pick what you can do for the player. And I think if we all that, it'd be better.
Yeah.
Too many say, "Oh no, we're running my offense." Yeah, whatever, dude. Lord have mercy.
Day to day, physically, I mean, that throws a whole other curveball into it. We've had players who 1 year they're the fastest kid on the team, and then in the off season they have a growth spurt. They grow 2-3 inches, and their feet are huge, and they can't run right anymore. And it takes them a couple of years to get back to what they were. Everybody's going, well, why aren't you giving the ball to him? And well, he's not the same player he was last year. These kids are growing and perfect. Year after year, I've got kids that are coming in, and some of them have definitely started puberty, and some of them definitely have not. I've got kids that need to start shaving, and I've got kids that aren't going to see shaving for another few years. And well, Jimmy was the best running back we had at the youth level. Well, he's not anymore. He's not as fast. Other kids have caught up with him. They've passed him. He was ahead of the curve in 6th grade, but you know what? At 7th grade, he's not anymore. The game gets faster. The kids are bigger, stronger. We run into some situations where there's big kids who couldn't play at the youth level because of weight restrictions, or they couldn't play certain positions because of weight restrictions. And now it's junior high and it's wide open. I've had parents told their kid after they sign up, come to practice, get to the first scrimmage, and they're like, whoa. Do you see the size of that kid who was tackling my son? Yeah. Every team's going to have one of those. Wish I had one of those. I don't think I want to complain if the kids are going to be that big. Well, it's junior high. I got news for you. You know, every kid's going to be a different size and shape, and you know, your kid
it's just going to get bigger and faster.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we've made an effort with, and I credit Mike Robinson with it years ago with the team that we had at the youth level. Back then, they had weight restrictions, and you weighed in every week. And we had a couple kids who were close to weight. So we started just a conditioning. At the time, it wasn't even a conditioning camp. It was just we had a couple nights a week where we were doing conditioning in the off season, where we would have our guys who were our bigger guys who were close on weight, and we would bring the coaches' sons, and so we'd have a group of 5 to 10 kids out there, and we were just trying to get them in some exercise, ladder drills, that kind of stuff, fun stuff, but conditioning stuff to try to get the guys that we needed underweight so that they could play for us. And nothing dangerous, nothing excessive, all just, good conditioning stuff. And other coaches saw what we were doing and started coming up and saying, hey, can I send my guys up here who are close on weight? And we said, yeah, and then it got a little bit bigger, and we had to move it we started off at Miami Meadows, and then it moved from Miami Meadows to the Lemming House up here on Buckwheat, and it got even bigger, and we, at one point, Mike, we never charged for it at that point. We were, Mike was starting to worry about the legal side of things because we had so many kids out there, and we're like, we're running, 80 kids at this point, just out of the, kindness of our hearts kind of deal. And so it was when Shane Elkin took over the head spot at Milford, he came up because we had some varsity guys at that time that were coming out and helping us out. He came up just to see it, and then he approached us and said, hey, I'd like to take this to the high school field. Let's do it up at the high school, and we'll charge something that, to cover the insurance on it, but then it takes it off of you guys, and we'll give them a T-shirt or do whatever. And so we, parlayed that over into a preseason conditioning camp that we do from, May into July. And we...
Oh, I know. Yeah. I was not a part of it, but I knew about it from last year. So, yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
We as it grew, we get 200 kids sign up for it now. And we don't want, we have it, boys, girls, we'll take anybody from first grade to 8th grade. And what we do is we'll split them up, and I ask most of my junior high staff, to come help out, and I'll try to keep them with the older guys. So not only are they, conditioning the older guys, but they're spending time with the team. The players are getting to learn each other, and the coaches are getting to learn the players, and it's amazing what you can see as the kids run through drills and stuff that aren't football related, but you see the physicality of some of these kids. You see who can. There was kids who, when on day one of football, we're like, you think he could go both ways? And I'm like, no, he couldn't even make it through conditioning. He would have to take a break every day. He's not going to be able to go both ways. But you see stuff in conditioning that you don't see, you don't have the opportunity to see once you get onto the field. And it's worked out great for us. Like I said, the conditioning camp, it's brought in just enough money that it's allowed us at the junior high to fund some of our stuff. Unfortunately, junior high has always been the stepchild of all the programs, so we never get the funds that people get. So we use our funds that we raised from that to buy pieces of equipment. Our tackling sleds, the last 2 tackling sleds we bought came from us. We bought the varsity's watering system, they call it the water buffalo that they had. We bought that.
Yeah, that's right. They did that last year. Yeah.
Yeah, we had bought one for us that was a smaller upright one, and we were sharing it between 7th and 8th. So then we decided the next year we used our conditioning camp money, and we bought the bigger one for varsity, so we took their old one so both 7th and 8th could have one. So we work with it. It's not a lot of funds, but we use them to go back straight into the program and to the players. And actually that's what we've been doing this past couple of weeks is picking what we're going to buy actually this year. But it's worked out great for us. But there's schools out there that aren't doing that. They're not conditioning the kids, and the kids get out there, and like you said, just like you have an athlete like, Bryce Dugan, as good as he is, who last year couldn't go both ways without, just happened to take a break.
Yep. Well, he, like I said, that's still totally different from a wide receiver and a cornerback playing both sides, and with a defensive line, offensive line. I mean, because you exert way more energy, in my opinion, than a wide receiver and quarterback. But still, that kid was wore out. I mean, every game, but he was wore out, especially that game. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was a home game, and it was close to the end of the season. It might have been Loveland, because we played at Kings. I think it was Loveland here, because it was one of our last games. But yeah, so, well, cool. Well, Steve, I need to finish this up, and all that good stuff. But, yeah, enjoyed talking to you about it. And, we'll get together and talk again, for another one, because there's all kind of stuff we can talk about football. We didn't even get into anything about, the stupid college football playoff rankings and all that junk.
Yeah,
but I know you're an Ohio State fan, so I know you're not happy about it. But I'm sure you understand, though. Really, I don't understand. Alabama is the better team, but the thing is, you screwed Penn State last year, my team, to put Ohio State in there because they had a better record, even though my team won the, conference. Their conference championship. And then they turn around and then do just opposite to Ohio State this year. I'm like, come on, do something consistently,
I think it's to the point that they instituted a system not too long ago, and it obviously still has some tweaks. I'd like to see them expand it to 8 teams, and then you could take the 4 conference champs can go in, and then the next best 4, and then you could you might be able to see a different playoff scenario, and you wouldn't have these situations because it's tough trying to compare a team to another team when they're playing different opponents, when they're playing they got different schedules, they've got some are playing tougher in the beginning, some are playing tougher at the end. It sounds like for the most part it came down to, that Iowa, beat down that Ohio State had. So, it's tough, but,
everybody has a bad game sooner or later. Yeah. The New England Patriots are still phenomenal, and they lost 2 years to the Giants in the Super Bowl, who were very inferior to them. But it just happens,
Yeah.
My playoffs would be totally different. People probably wouldn't like mine, but that's, the thing is, you got UCF sitting out there. What are they, 11-0, 12-0 now because they won their championship? I don't give a damn what anybody says. I know they're not a powerhouse, and Alabama would probably torch them. But damn it to hell, they deserve to be in the damn playoffs. In my opinion, they should be number 1 because they're undefeated. But who's going to pay to watch that damn game? There's not going to be any sponsors because it's not Alabama versus Ohio State. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about that almighty dollar.
Yeah.
For UCF.
I just look at the names of all the bowl games. There's you can't even have the Cotton Bowl, the Orange Bowl, everything's the Tostitos, this, that, and the other, and the PlayStation, this bowl game, and it amazes me. There's so many bowl games that are all, and every one of them is just another reason for someone else to sponsor something.
Right.
It's crazy.
If you're gonna do those, and they mean nothing. I mean, we got 500 bowl games. Let everybody that didn't make it. Let's have a few bowl games, but why are we having a bowl game as the as the playoff games? Because they don't mean anything. Oh, I beat Alabama in the Cotton Bowl or whatever the hell, Rose Bowl, and now I'm going to play for the national championship. Well, if you lose the national championship, who gives a shit if you won the damn Rose Bowl?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So there's flaws all over it, and I don't know what they're going to do. Who knows? At least this is better than what it used to be, but that didn't take much to be better than what it used to be.
That's true. Oh,
God. All right. Well, cool, Steve. Well, I enjoyed it, and I will talk to you later.
Great. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, no problem. All right. Have a good one.
Well, that about wraps up our first episode of First Team All Podcast. Check back often, catch some more episodes, and remember to check out our sponsor, www.fuelthejourney.org. Go and see what that's all about. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. Have a good day.